Hello friends, myself Professor Vinod Pillai. Welcome to C++ programming session. In today's session, I'm going to talk about file IO. That's part 4 of my session. I do expect you have already seen my part 1 to part 3 of the sessions, in which I've explained how to do basic operations in files, that is reading and writing objects and reading and writing simple character values and strings and integers values and all. In today's session, I'll be more concentrating towards how to read and write objects, how to modify an existing object, how to delete an object in the files using the help of seekg, tellg, seekp, tellp. If you've not seen it, please have a look at it of my all previous 3 sessions file IO related sessions, or else I do expect that you have basic understanding of these methods and how to read and write objects using read and write methods of file IO. So let's start this session. In today's session we'll be seeing basically major operations what you expect with an objects to be done in the files. That is, most probably you have some class and you want to create an object of that class and load some values in that object, and then you finally want to store persist that object for a longer term. That means you want to use that object in future purpose. So you want to store the objects into the files, you want to display all the objects in the which are there stored in the files, you want to update some objects data based on ID, or delete or search. These are the major operations. The complete session of today's will be explained on the base of an example. So I'll not be explaining any of the functions how to work it, because I've already done that. This session is completely a revision session in which I've created an example based on the previous explained methods. So let's start it. To explain this full session, I have created an example in which I have created an employee class which is having 3 variables: ID, name and salary. It is having a default constructor and a destructor. As such, because my variable ID is a private variable and I want to assign ID as a unique, that is an auto-generated concepts, that I want a auto-generated ID should be assigned to each and every object. That means no objects will have a same IDs. So I have used the concept of set ID and get ID. I'll be showing you that. I'll be explaining you what exactly I want to say. But I've created 2 methods: set ID, which will take an argument of tid, which will be passed to an ID. Get ID returns what is my current ID. Set data will assign values for the remaining variables, that is name and salary. So in the class we have 3 variables: ID, name and salary. All 3 of them can be assigned value. ID will be assigned automatically, name and salary will be assigned with the help of set data method. Display is a method which displays all the values of ID and name. So let's begin with the methods. This class, after this class is completed, I have created major 5 methods. That is, method number 1, which will be handling how to add, or you can say how to append an employee object to the files. Method number 2 will be concentrating how you can display all the employee objects which are stored in files to be displayed to user. Method number 3 will be modifying the employee objects which is already there in the file based on ID. Delete does the same thing, only thing is it removes the content from the file. And search help us to search particular employee object from the file. I have created another 2 methods based on my requirements, that is get file size. The reason is because each and every time I want to process it, like display, search, delete, modify, in all these operations I have to get the actual how many objects I've already stored into the files. So the best way is, like, instead of again and again writing the same code in different locations, it is better I've created a method. It automatically finds me the file size, that number of objects are there, and it returns me that. So that particular method is being created. Get ID, as I specified that in my class I want each and every object should have a unique ID. So by calling simply get ID, it will return you an auto generated unique ID. So that is the method for that purpose. As such, I am going to deal with 2 files. One is a 1.dat file, which is my actual database file, in which I am going to store student related, employee related all informations. An ID will be auto generated, and that ID has to be maintained somewhere. So FID is a file which is going to store the file related informations, ID related informations. So let's start with it. The main method, as and when someone comes to the main method, it goes into an infinite loop, that's while one, giving a simple display screen showing you welcome to employee management system, showing 5 major options. You can have it, you can add new employee, modify, delete and search and display, and finally 0 for exist, asking users choice. Based on users choice, I'm calling appropriate methods. As I've explained, I have 5 methods, and based on whichever user has selected, the appropriate method will be called. Let's assume that user has selected append employee. Before getting into append employee, I just want to explain you that what get id does, because as such in append employee we are going to use this method, so I'll explain it first only. What get id's concept is, like, I'm going to open a file which is having some value. I'll just increment that value and return to the user. So that's a basic concept into it. So first and foremost I have to open the file, so I have opened ifstream and fid is having my file name. Integer value is having initially 0. This may be a possible that first time when you're opening the file, that file is not exist only, because when I'm running the first time the file does not exist, and ifstream does not create a new file also. As we know, ifstream only opens existing files. So what I have to do, I have to manually create the file if in case file does not exist. So if that is the case, then I'm calling ofstream and calling that file, so that file will be created, and I'll assign a 0 value from my side, and I'm closing the file and again opening the file in the read mode. So in this case, this is only the portion which is there in the if condition will only be executed once when the file does not exist. That's the first time when you are running the program. After that, what I'm doing is find value, whatever value is there in the file. So in the first case it is 0, that will be assigned to value, and I will close the file. So ofstream will again open the file and add a value, whatever value is having, +1, and closes the file and returns to that value to the user. So whatever value is there, each and every time the file is opened, incremented, return to it, and return to user. So this is the process. So the first time the value is 0, that is read, and that is given to the user is given 0 plus 1, and even I have written 1 into it. So first value is added. Second time what happens, file is open, so it will not execute, it will not go to the find equal to null, directly opens the file and reads that value is 1, closes the file. ofstream opens the file, simply adds one value to the value that whatever it has read. So as such it has read 1, so it will add 1 into it, so it becomes 2. So now 2 is there, 2 is returned to user, and 2 is being added into the file. So in this way automatically id will be generated, that too of unique concepts. So let's now start with append employee. Append employee does simple a normal task, that is, first you create the object, get ready the file. So I've simply said fstream, I want to append the data, I don't want to remove all old data, so I open in the mode iOS scope resolution append and iOS scope resolution out. Simply I say t1.setId, because t1 is an object, I want to set the values. Set data will help me to assign the values, but it will only help me to assign name and salary. id can't be assigned because id is auto generated. So that is the purpose I have created set id and get id method. Get id will be shown to you in later uses. Set id I'm calling, I'm calling get id, so automatically the auto generated id will be returned to him, that is assigned to t1, and set data will assign the name and salary. So finally I can say t1 is assigned values from the outside, that is id, name and salary. And finally I'm just simply writing that value with the help of write method. I've already explained the write method, what is the syntax. I just simply say that it will write the t1's value into it. As we know that write method writes a block of data, so complete t1 will be returned to it as a chunk of data. And finally task is over, I closes the file. Now let's get into the modify. If you understand modify and update and delete, and then search and display is quite easy. In modify scenario, what happens is, first of all, to get anything modified you have to understand how many objects are there, you should know. Then you ask the user like which particular id you want to update, search particular id using a for loop concept into the files, that is anyone's id is matched. If id is matched, then you update it. So first and foremost you create an object, because when you read it, it should be stored somewhere. Second is you should get the file size. How to do that? I have created another method at the bottom. I'll explain first that. Get size method, size of the file, is a method which is whose whole task is simply to calculate the total size of the file, that is total number of objects stored in the file. For that I've created two variables, integer size and total, and created an employee object. I'm simply saying ifstream please open the file. ifstream opens the file. I'm sending the saying fin, that is open file object, ifstreams object seekg 0, iOS scope resolution. I'm making myself moving the read pointer to the last position, so read pointer automatically goes into the last position of the file and waits there. Then I'm telling what is your current position with the help of tellg. tellg returns my how many total bytes are there on top. As such, because I am standing at the last position, it will tell you how many total bytes it has gone from top to bottom. So that is the total bytes I'm getting. I'm not getting the number of objects, because as we know that get size, tellg, tellp, all of these methods works in bytes, but for a user point of view we should know how many objects are there. So I simply close the file. I say size is equal to whatever total bytes I'm getting divide by one single object size. So if suppose a single object is using 10 bytes and total bytes I'm getting 100, so I can say I have stored 10 objects into that file. So whatever is the number I'm getting, I'm returning it with here. So whenever I call this method, it automatically calculates how many objects are there in the file and returns me number of objects. So let's go upstairs and let's now understand the modification. So first and foremost, I created the object. I get the file size. So size is returned. So assume that we have total 5 objects, so size will have 5. I have to update the content of the file, so I open in fout. As we know that in the modes there are two different modes, AP and AT. AP allow us to append the content but only end. AT allow us to modify the content in between of the files also. So I opened in AT mode also. Fout seekg as 0. I'm moving the file pointer to 0 position, that is read pointer. I'm specifically say I'm moving only the read pointer to 0 position. I'm asking the user which particular data you want to update, or you can say which user's ID you want to update. Okay, so ID is being assigned in ID variable whichever users is there. I simply calculate a for loop, integer I equal to 0 till the size. So if 5 objects are there, so this loop will be rotated 5 times. First time the first object will be read and its value will be stored into T. Now what I have to do is here, that is I have to compare that what user has ID sent and what IDs this T is having, is it same or not. Now the problem is that I can't write t.id because id is a private variable of that object and I'm sitting outside this class. So if you want to access any variable which is private, its value from outside the class, then you should have a public method. So if you remember, in the class I have created a getID method, okay, with the help of which I'm getting the current object's ID. So this ID is the one which user has sent. Is this equal to the object which I have read dot get ID. If it matches, then what is now the problem is, now you want to update that particular object. That means this object should be updated. Let's assume that first object didn't match, so it will not go into if condition, nothing happens. Second object does not match, nothing happens. The third object matches, so you've already read the third object and now the ID has matched. Now what is your expectation is, you want the third object should be changed. Now the first and foremost thing is, like, if you want to change the third object, you should make your pointer to sit at third position. Then only you can say right, because you don't know where is your pointer right now. Yes, we know that currently we have two pointers, that is read and write. I'm talking about the right pointer, because till now we are simply reading. If you can see, I'm always telling read the data, I'm not saying write the data. So always the movement is done for the read pointer. But I know one thing, where is my read pointer? My read pointer is standing after the third position, because it has already read the third, so it is standing at fourth. So I'm saying fout, please tell me where is my read pointer. So it says you are standing at fourth position, but I want to go back to third. Now as we know, it's talking about bytes, so I'm saying size minus size of an object. That means if the whatever one object is taking space, please minus it that, so automatically it will go into the third position. So size is now having size. Now I want to move the right pointer. If I want to move the right pointer, as we previously read, that seekp is a method with the help of which we can move the right pointer. So I'm saying move this much space from where, from the begin. So this much bytes has been jumped and now right pointer is ready. Finally I'm doing what, I'm creating a new object, I'm assigning t to it. So all t's value will be assigned to new obj. I'm saying new obj dot set data, so I'm assigning new values to new obj. So new obj is ready, only simply you want to write that new obj in that particular position. So I'm saying fout dot write new obj, so that particular object will be written at that particular position. I'm setting the counter equal to 1. Why I have done this, the purpose is simple. There may be possibility that user has passed some ID which does not exist in our database also. To check that thing, I have checked a counter. If counter equal to 0, that means no record is found. If any time ID has been matched, then I change the counter's value, then I can show a message record updated. I hope so you have understood the updations. Deletion same procedure but little bit difficult because we can't modify it. Much easier position is this something like this. What I did is I have created an employee object. I should get the size. I have to open the file, but here I have opened another file. What concept I have used is, suppose we have 5 objects. I want to delete the third record. What I do is I open the file in read mode. Yes, I'll open the file in read mode, not on write mode. I'll open my actual file in the read mode and open a a temporary file in the write mode. If id does not match, then only I'll write that data into the temp file. So the id 1 will not match, so it will be written to temp file. 2's id will not be matched, so that will also be written into the temp.file. 3's id matched, so I'll not write anything. So in this case 3 is not written in temp.dat file. 4's id will not match, so 4 is written. 5's id does not match, 5 is written. So now actually what I have done in temp.dat file, if you can understand, that is I've deleted the third record basically, but I've deleted and made the changes in temp.dat file. I have to do all those changes in my actual file. So finally, after what I'll do is I simply open the actual file in write mode. As and when I open the file in write mode, not on append mode, all the old data will be deleted. As we know, iOS scope resolution out deletes all the data, so it removes all the data, and I'll then copy all the data of temp.dat into the actual file, so it is automatically been updated, or you can say I have finally deleted the third record. Let's see that. So I open two files. I'm asking the user what ID it is. I'm rotating a for loop. I'm reading the first record. If ID does not match, then it goes to the else mode and it writes the data into the temporary file. If ID matches, I'm simply saying counter equal to 1. So first record will be returned, second will be returned, in third it will be simply saying counter equal to 1. Third will not be returned into the temp file, so temp file will have 1, 2, 4 and 5. Finally, I'm closing the file. If counter is not equal to 0, that means some deletion has occurred. So I open the temp.dat file in read mode and my file, actual file, in the write mode. As in, when I open in actual file, the write mode, all old data will be removed. I simply rotate the for loop. Only thing is you have to remember here now you have to rotate a loop one time less because one object is already been deleted. So size minus 1, I'll simply read from the temporary file right into the actual file and I close it. So in this way I can achieve the concept of delete. Search and display is almost same, only thing is same, you just ask the ID, open the file, get the file size, rotate a for loop till the size, read the data. If ID match, then only display. Simple it is, nothing is there. Only thing is, like, if ID matches, then you have to display. And in case of display all, simply you have to do get the file size, open the file in the read mode, rotate the loop. You simply have to read and you have to display all. Instead of just displaying a particular ID, you're displaying here all the data. Okay, so I hope so you have cleared your queries regarding how to write an object, how to display all objects, how to update, how to delete, and how to search object based on ID. If you still any queries, you can post comments to this video, or else you can email me. The best option is you select is go for post comments, because I frequently see that, and even the other users having some doubts regarding to same questions, it will be answered there. All the codes regarding this particular project will be found in my blog, that is vinodthebest.wordpress.com. Thank you and have a nice day.